Pius, and you made seven semifinal appearances, three championship games. You had a lot of success there. But I've got to ask you with this Sandia job, and you took over for Dave Hendrick, who took over for the late Chris Eaton, and we had Adriel Figueroa Brito on our show Deep in the Dugout on Sunday, and what a great program you've got there. It takes coaching. You just can't throw out the balls and say let's go. You've got to coach them. But talk to us a little bit about the Matadors. I looked at that lineup, man. It's murderers row, baby, murderers row. But tell us a little bit about where you think Sandia is at this point of the season.
Well, Ed, like you had mentioned, I've coached a lot of great kids in my time at St. Pius and even at West Mesa High School. And, a big part of me has always wanted to come back and coach at my alma mater. And didn't want it to happen under the circumstances that it did. But, one thing I knew coming here is I knew I had to bring stability. And, these guys, the whole community had been through quite a bit of turmoil and everything else, and with Chris and everything else with that. And, but aside from that, I was very, very grateful and I feel blessed to be able to have the opportunity to come back at my alma mater and coach here. And, it's just a very, very grateful.
Yes, I think, and I do want to mention Dave Hendrick. He did a great job. He did a great job there. And we've said this, Coach, before we got on, and I talked to Adriel about this on Sunday. When a guy like Chris, Eaton passes away, it's a stab in the heart for a while, man. It is. And, Adriel had that memory of Chris hitting balls at him. I had to laugh because, the guy and I got to be really, really good friends, man, in a short period of time. I love the guy, period. Loved him. We I told Adriel that we did some Connie Mack. He did some commentary Connie Mack with us. And we just got to be, he's just that kind of guy. I don't know who didn't like him. I don't know that anybody didn't like him. So, again, Coach Hendrick did a great job. And you're doing a great job with this bunch, too. But, again, when Adriel mentioned that, I know people, Dave Hendrick was not a stopgap. He knew the guys. He knew them. And, and it was tough because they're still remembering how Chris did things. And Coach Hendrick had his own ideas. You've got yours. So I think, again, Chris will never, ever be forgotten, not ever. But you've got your job to do, and you've got your way of approaching baseball. You mentioned your alumni from '89. You're coaching at your school, man, and that's got to mean something because when I coached at Highland, and I go back to Highland, I'm always like, yeah, and because I'm on the Highland Alumni Association, so memories just come flooding, man. And when I see we had the Highland Golf Tournament yesterday, and I see alumni, and yeah, so. Tell us a little bit of when you played baseball there. I think you played under not Mike Robertson. Who did you play under there?
Coach Paskowitz.
Okay, Hank Paskowitz was one heck of a coach, man. He was one heck of a coach. I remember him. Tell us a little bit about what you gleaned, what you got from him, because Hank Paskowitz, people that forget, was one heck of a baseball coach, man.
He sure was. Also played football for Coach Jim Ottman here, and both him and Coach Paskowitz. They taught us a lot of discipline here. There was a lot of rich tradition here at Sandia. We all wanted to come here from middle school. We all wanted to, do well, win state and all those great things. And I have a lot of great memories here. And, it feels great because like you being at Highland, Ed, I know what it's like to walk through these halls. I know what it's like to put on a football jersey in the locker room, a baseball jersey in that dugout, and to walk these halls again it's been awesome. But for me too, one of the biggest things when getting here was, and I sat the boys down on my first day here, we had a meeting. I said, one thing we are not going to do is ever forget Coach Chris Eaton's legacy here. He will always be remembered. We will always honor him. My job is to pick up where he left off because he left behind for Coach Hendrick and myself an awesome program, that he had built, that he had taken 5 to 6 years to build. These are his kids, and one thing I wanted to make sure of is that we continue to honor him in every way. And one of the biggest things his motto was, Ed, if I might add, and we have a big banner in left field. It's right under the scoreboard. And his family came out, Mr. and Mrs. Eaton, his brother, Michael. We honored them in between a doubleheader in district last year versus Piedra Vista. But anyway, we gave him this banner. We gave him some other things. But one of his biggest mottos, and we still preach it today, our kids live by it, is get 1% better every day. Every day, whether it's practice, a game, every week, every day, you're trying to get 1% better. And in time, that will catch up, and you keep progressing and progressing. And that really resonated with me. And that's one thing that we go by. And these kids, like you talked to Ariel, they those things will never go away. These kids, will cherish that and their time here. And, we also do it for Coach Eaton because he was a good friend also to me, but he was their coach, and he'll always be remembered here in this program, always.
Yeah, and I think if you even go back even further to the late Coach Gunther, who even Coach Robertson, man, I know Mike pretty well. His dad Buddy is on our Highland Hall of Fame committee, man, and Coach Robertson's a legend all by itself, and a whole different story there. But Coach Gunther built a great program. Coach Eaton, Coach Hendrick, yes. So there's no doubt about the legacy. Even when I think about him, I tear up a little because, we exchanged some texts, and I had asked him, and things happened the way they did, but that won't be forgotten. But I think it's important to understand that your experience here with this game, and again, being back at your alma mater, man, I can only, I can relate. My son coached your son at St. Pius. My son is still a Pius dude, man. He played there, coached there. He, I'm glad my wife and I were able to send him there. He's doing very well in his professional life. So, yeah, I think my son will always be a black and gold guy. He better be, him and I have a little tussle when Highland and Pius play, but we, but I got, I coached some of those kids at Pius as well. So, but you look at your experience too. I mean, you went to Pius, and then you were at West Mesa. You got your 300th win there. You've got 350 wins. You helped over 65 players move on to play college baseball. That's got to mean something. It does. That experience deep in the dugout is what we call our show. That's deep in the dugout, man. You played. Hank Paskowitz, man. When you mentioned that name, he had some bombers then too. Coach Paskowitz, Sandia's had tradition of solid baseball for a long time, and that guy was just a really good person too. So your experience in the game, it's got to you're the run the Washington Nationals fall 18U Southwest Scout team. The board of directors is treasurer of the NMHSBA BCA. So like me with basketball, your whole background is this game, and a game that you love, and it's got to mean, like you said, it had to mean something when you were told you got the job. It must have been Brian Weems. Was he the athletic director then?
It was Coach Chad Adcox,
who's another great guy. Coach
yes,
Adcox it has to mean something to you to, like you said, walk the halls, see the dugout, close your eyes, remember what music was being played at that time. The whole thing, man. It's got to mean something. And then the lineup, and we'll get to that in the second half of the show. You sent some pictures, but these dudes are, man, these hitters, wow. When I looked at the lineup of the averages, your batting averages as a team, and the way you play, you've got Adriel and Junior Bastillos, Colton Floyd, you got Condone, you got some really solid lineup.
Yes, sir. These guys, I'll tell you, it's kind of branched from last year. We had a good run last year. We had some guys, unfortunately, we had Zach Kamatz, had some shoulder issues right in the middle of district. And, we had to pick up, from there, which guys did, next man up. And several of them stepped up, and, we ended the season as best we could. But they all in all, they had a really good year. And now a lot of those guys are back this year to provide some experience from last year that are really contributing to our overall success this season. And those guys that you mentioned are leading hitters in every offensive category on our team. So very pleased with what our results have been after all the hard work we have put in since August. So,
Zach Kamatz, man, guy's a special ball player. Taylor Barasa, so Kamatz, you've had some arms there too. You've had some good pitching. They came up short when Coach Eaton in the championship game. I did the PA for that a couple of years ago. They came up short. They made the championship game, but I think the middle of the lineup, the defense, Adriel moving to shortstop now. The defense has always been solid, and the pitchings, man, Kamatz, the curve, the slider, the guy kept hitters off balance. Where's he playing in college now, Coach?
He's at Oregon State, Zach, and he's in the starting rotation somewhere. I mean, he hasn't pitched a whole lot of innings, but he's getting innings. And the latest report was that he touched 96 or 97 on the radar gun is what we've heard. But he does stay in touch and keeps us updated. But, he's going to have a phenomenal career as well as his brother did there at Oregon State.
Jacob Kamatz. Yes, those watching those kids play, they're on one of my friends, Ed Gato, had his son pitch for Academy. And that kid was just mechanically sound, and you could just tell the way he pitches on a different level. Well, I'm going to mention one thing. Of course, he played for Coach Ottman and Jim Ottman. Old school as it comes. And, I got to tell you something funny. He does some football commentary with me, and, he'll see these different plays, 5 wideouts, and he'll say, well, it doesn't matter. You still got to block and tackle. Doesn't matter. And so the basics right there, it doesn't matter. He's not impressed, man. You still got to block and tackle. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this year's version of the 2025 Sandia Matadors baseball team after these messages on the sports desk.
Yes, sir.
Pops it skyward. Uh-oh, going deep. Bye-bye. That didn't look like it had anything going. And it just kept fading. If you look at the flags, they're at a dead standstill. And Ryan Hutchison just deposited it.
Chavez, a nice cut towards center field. That one finds a seam. Grady will round third, and she's going to take home plate. So an RBI double for Jordan Chavez makes the score 8-6 in the bottom of the second.
And now we've got a stolen base. 10th throw looks like it's on time, and so was the tag. Out! Long as they were looking to have that ball. Beautiful throw.
There's a shot. That's going to get over the shortstop. That's going to bring in 2 runs. Maybe not. Oh, he missed the tag. So coming across.
Through the left side, Romero is being sent all the way and lost out in left field. It's a walk-off single for Aiden Gonzalez.
That one shot to center field. Catch. Fires forward. There's going to be a play at the plate. Got him. What a throw from center field. Chase Rivera.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Very special guest today, Sandia boys baseball coach Marc Hilton. Matadors ranked second in the state with an overall record of 16-3 and 4-0 in district. And Coach, it's been a pleasure discussing Sandia baseball and your past accomplishments in the game with you. Very, very. It's been great. We haven't talked to each other in a while, so it's been great.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. Really enjoyed it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and bringing up, I had some great coaches here with, Coach Oppman and Coach Paskowitz. Coach Ron Murphy was also a mentor for me, being our JV coach and helping us with football and everything. Gave me my first job at St. Pius. He's the head coach, and I want to, definitely give him credit for getting me involved with coaching and making my career get started and taken off. But and also I want to say, what a great job David Hendrick did here while, after all that happened with Coach Eaton. He had to go through a lot more than I have, even though we're still picking up the pieces. Coach Hendrick also did a phenomenal job that year, and we commend him for it.
Yeah, you know what, both of you, again, it's when those kind of things happen, there has to be many people come in your life, Coach, as we evolve and grow. You had a lot of teachers at Sandia. I had some. I went 1 year, 8 years to Holy Ghost, one to the old St. Pius. And, I just had lunch with Coach Duffy last week, man.
Yep.
Coach Bill Duffy. And so he's still in my life. Yeah, great guy, and we talk a lot. What do you think we talk about? Hoops, right? Players, coaches, situations. And it's been a long time since I had a
great
chance.
Guy.
Yeah, I loved Duffy.
Yep.
And then Glenn Lucero, my coach at Highland, still in my life. So I think different people come along at different parts in your life, and you don't forget it. So I got it. I got also mentioned. You also played college football at Eastern New Mexico University as a strong safety. You helped guide the football team at Pius. I covered that game when you beat Artesia in 2016. Drew Ortiz, what a game he had! What a phenomenal quarterback he was. So you again, teaching, coaching. Leading up to the moments you have now. Baseball is your sport, but you've been there for kids in different ways at different schools, and that means a lot. It really does. Going back to the Matadors again, when we talked to Adriel on Sunday, the Matadors, you're coming off the second game on Sunday. My son covered that for ProView Networks, and he said the second game got a little hairy. In the top of the top of the seventh, Manzano struck back a little bit, and give him credit. Talk a little bit about that doubleheader sweep. You won the first game with behind Adriel Figueroa Brito. I think he pitched, struck out, only allowed 2 hits and struck out 6. But the second game a little bit closer. Talk a little bit about that second game.
Yeah, we had control of that game to the fifth inning, and we were run away from winning it. But we didn't get that. Didn't happen. Came up short, and by the 6th and on the 7th, we kind of let up a little bit, but I have to say that Manzano, they refused to definitely didn't give up, and they played very hard to the end of that game, and they almost came back. It was very close. They scored 6 runs in the top of the 7th inning there, and but again, no excuse. When you let off the gas a little bit against good teams, they're gonna play up to that, and they're going to, play as well as they did to almost come back and tired to win that game. So, it was a matter of that, and I think some mishaps and a few errors. Before you know it, that's baseball. It can get away from you real fast.
Sometimes they happen with 2 outs. You're like, okay, all we need is 1 out. All of a sudden, that team will rally, and like you said,
Yes,
give Manzano credit.
yes.
Oh man, I did a game at Western a couple weeks ago with softball, and man, that must have taken 2 games, took 7.5 hours, and we're almost out of the game, and all of a sudden somebody hits a single, the game continues, and that's what this game, the game I'm telling you, had injury timeouts, delays, pitching changes, foul balls, the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing. You know how that goes. But
Yes.
we got to go down the lineup, and Adriel Figueroa Brito, who I think too, is one of the top, maybe the best player in the state. He bats .478, 9 doubles, 5 triples, 3 homers, 31 RBIs, 36 runs scored as a pitcher, 35.2 innings pitched, 7 wins, 0 losses, 60 strikeouts, an ERA of 1.76. Holton Floyd at .565, Jeremiah Bustillos at .429, also one heck of a linebacker, man. Well,
Yes.
Could go somewhere. I think your leadoff, Anthony Condon, batting .410. Damon McCree, your catcher, who's committed to New Mexico Highlands, batting .432. As I mentioned, a murderer's row, man. That's a tough out, and you can't really pitch around anybody. If you do, you do so at your own peril. Talk a little bit about your lineup. I talked to Adriel about it, but you tell us from a coach's standpoint.
Yes, starting with Adriel, I think he really is the best all-around player in the state. He gets it done on the mound, at the plate, on defense. His numbers are outstanding. They're out of this world, as far as being able to being a complete. We talked about the other day a 5-tool player. He exemplifies, I think, what being a 5-tool player is all about. He's definitely going to do some great things in college, for Coach Hakami Pima we had talked about. But he's leading our team. He's our leader. He's our heart and soul. His work ethic is second to none. He does a tremendous job for us. Now, however, too, we've got a supporting cast of guys that are also doing extremely well, such as Anthony Condon and Damon McCree, and you have Jeremiah Bustillos and Colton Floyd. Those guys have all stepped up big at the plate and done a very good job. We also have some other pitchers that have done well and also hit well with Charles Armijo and Levi Brooks and Alden Schwartz. I mean, the list kind of goes down. It's a team effort. And all those guys in our starting lineup put together, they have been playing really good baseball up to this point.
You've got, we mentioned, you've got El Dorado, and El Dorado's a good team. You've got them this Saturday in a doubleheader, Capital, and then La Cueva. You got La Cueva, at the end of the season. Talk a little bit about the Eagles, man. They're a formidable team. Capital, and then La Cueva. Talk about the remaining. La Cueva. This has been a rivalry for a while. I remember when I did a doubleheader there a couple of years ago. Sandia beat them for the first time in a long time. And, man, there's some people upset about that. But, hey, this is a rivalry. But talk a little bit about El Dorado first on Saturday.
Well, El Dorado, man, they're playing great baseball too. And Coach Ambrose Romero has done a wonderful job since he took over last year. And he's really got them playing good baseball. And he's got some really good players. And, we've got to play – or bring our A game, this coming weekend and in the next few weekends. But starting with El Dorado, we're going to have to do very well to beat those guys. And very tough ball club.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. La Cueva, we don't have to mention much else about La Cueva, the defending champions. Gerard Pineda, all the respect in the world for him. I always tease him. He's got Billy Grace. He's got a major league staff there, man. And
Yes.
Billy, I love Billy. Billy's a good friend, and I really like him a lot. He refed a lot of college basketball and high school basketball, and he's evaluating now as far as that goes. But tell us a little bit about, you beat him earlier in the year, and that the pitch count came back. Adriel pitched very, very well. It's tough Braden Reynolds, Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, they've got. You talk about a murderer's row there too. That's why it's such a great matchup, and that's why it's going to maybe take some strategy between both you and Gerard to see what chess pieces need to be moved in that doubleheader. But talk a little bit about that game at the end of the year.
Yeah, every year it's always been, probably our biggest rival here at Sandia. I could speak for every coach prior to me. Gerard and I go way back in high school. This rivalry started when La Cueva opened, and he was a junior, I was a senior, and we had battles then in high school against each other. But years later, Gerard has always gotten the most out of his teams. Obviously, he's done a tremendous job, and they reload at La Cueva every year, and just never seems to end. Everybody in their lineup, they're extraordinary, and but we a lot of our kids do play with those guys. They're friends on club, and they play with each other in the off season, and both teams know each other well, and they know how important the rivalry is, and both teams play hard no matter who has what players. It's always a hard-fought game, and and it's a very well-respected game, and a lot of people usually attend that one, and but it's rich in tradition.
No doubt about it. There's no doubt, and like I said, I know Gerard. I really, really like him. He's a great guy. You're a great guy. That's going to be, again, you've got business to take care of. Your message to your team. I coach too. You can't look ahead, but they can't help but look ahead. They can't because they're kids. That's why you're in charge, and they're not. I was telling my kid, I say, tell my son that, that frontal lobe of your brain isn't fully developed yet, son. We joke about that. That's why, it's tough not to look ahead. They're kids. Tell us real quick, what's it going to take for the Matadors to get that blue trophy home? What's it going to take? Again, been a great run for Sandia. Going back to Coach Gunther, man. We got to give the credit. And Coach Eden, Coach Hendrick, they've had a solid program for a long time. What's it going to take for the Matadors to bring that blue trophy home?
Well, it's going to take us to stay healthy. We've had some injuries off and on. We've had some younger kids that have to come in and fill some positions along the way. This last month, we played a lot of games in the last 3 or 4 weeks. But anyway, we got to stay healthy. I think number one, and number two, keep working hard, keep doing what we're doing, stay the course, keep grinding. I think our guys know mentally what we have to do to prepare for Eldorados, Capitals, La Cuevas, State, all that stuff, and I think that's going to be very important. And because that game, as well as any game, most of these games coming up will be a battle. And I think we have to play consistently and mistake-free, error-free, and, I think we'll have a shot.
Sandia boys baseball coach Marc Hilton, we sure appreciate you being our guest today on the Sports Desk, and we wish you the best of luck in the remainder of the season.
Thank you, Ed. Always a pleasure. I look forward to talking with you more down the road here. Great reuniting with you and Nick.
Yeah, it sure has been. And again, thanks for getting Adriel to appear on our show Deep in the Dugout. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.